Okay, so with the Afton house still being one of my most viewed videos of all time, and with that being my first set of videos and it being literal garbage, I can admit that, I thought I would remaster it. Now I don't have the raw clips anymore, but I have spliced together the 3 videos into one and tried to make it as seamless as I can as like a very slow speed build. And I thought it could be fun to tell the story of the Afton family instead of just sitting here talking to you. So without further ado, let's do that. The Afton family, a legacy of horror. They were a family like any other on the surface. A father, a mother, 3 children, a home filled with warmth. But something festering and wrong lurked beneath their walls, spreading like rot, unseen until it was far too late. Their name would be cursed in whispers, their sins buried beneath the foundations of a crumbling restaurant empire. From the outside, everything appeared normal, perfect even, but beneath the surface, a deep darkness hid in the shadows, affecting everything it touched. The past was something to be buried, forgotten, but for those who knew, it was a legacy of horror. And no matter how many times their story ended, it refused to stay dead. It clung to their name, living on in the twisted, decaying halls of forgotten pizzerias and haunted animatronics, their souls forever trapped in the machines William Afton had created, their revenge unyielding, just as their creator, who just wouldn't die. Chapter 1. The Monster Behind the Mask. William Afton was a man of many talents, an inventor, a businessman, a father, but above all else, he was a liar. To the world, he was the charming co-founder of Fazbear Entertainment, a brilliant mind behind the beloved animatronics that delighted children. He presented himself as a caring father, a doting husband, and a trustworthy businessman. To the public eye, William was a success, a man who had it all. He had everything one could want: wealth, a family, and the adoration of his community. But all of this was just a carefully crafted facade. William Afton never cared about children, not even his own. Behind the smiles and the impressive inventions, he had a far darker agenda. He only cared about control. And not just control of his business empire. William craved control over life and death itself. His first real experiment in control came with the spring-lock suits. These were animatronics that could be worn as costumes. Dual-purpose, innovative, and cost-effective. They allowed the animatronics to act as both unmanned static entertainers and suits that the employees could wear and engage with the children in. However, Henry Emily, his business partner, had his doubts. The suits were dangerous, unstable, and could malfunction with catastrophic consequences. Despite Henry's warnings, William dismissed his concerns as trivial. "The suits are fine," William insisted, his cold smile never faltering. And if they weren't? Well, accidents happened. And if a few accidents could provide him with the research he needed to achieve his ultimate goals, then so be it. William was never one to hesitate when it came to furthering his work, even at the cost of others' lives. What he wanted was something far beyond the realm of invention, a machine that could trap, kill, and most importantly, get away with it. He wanted something to perform the acts of the dark desires lurking in his soul, whilst keeping himself out of the ever-watchful eye of the law. And then, one day, the first child vanished. It wasn't difficult. A smile, a kind voice, a simple request. "Follow me." Children were too trusting, and no one questioned the man in the spring bonnie suit who dedicated so much of his own time and money to the happiness of children. Chapter 2. The Crying Child and His Watchful Friend. The youngest Afton had no name in history, just a nickname, whispered through the years. The Crying Child. He was afraid of the restaurant, afraid of the empty, staring eyes of the animatronics, afraid of what lurked behind their lifeless grins. The twisted machines that were designed to entertain had become something far darker in his eyes, his personal nightmares manifesting in the forms of large, bulky and unblinking animatronics. It was an overwhelming fear, one that consumed his thoughts and dreams. The very thought of being close to them was enough to send him into fits of panic. The only comfort he had was his Fredbear plush. It was his constant companion, his sole friend and confidant. He carried it everywhere, whispering his fears into it. The plush seemed to provide him solace, as if it could shield him from the horrors he feared, and sometimes he swore it whispered back. What did he do this time? Don't be scared, I am here with you. Tomorrow is another day. Michael, the older brother, saw his younger brother's fear as something to mock, a game to him, to his friends. They taunted him, donning masks of the animatronic, chasing him, cornering him. It was all fun and games, and Michael never saw the harm in it. It was just another way to laugh at his brother's expense. The worst of it came on his birthday, a party at Fredbear's family diner. The crying child didn't want to go. He begged not to go. But Michael, caught up in his own twisted sense of humour, had other plans. Laughter echoed through the halls, hands gripping him, dragging him towards Fredbear, the golden animatronic who loomed over the stage like a giant metallic monster. No, stop, please! They lifted him, his head getting closer to the animatronic's mouth. The animatronic's mouth snapped shut with a sickening crunch. Blood, screams and panic all erupted at once as the restaurant descended into chaos around the two brothers. A hospital bed, distant voices, his Fredbear plush beside him, its beady black eyes watching as the world faded into nothing. And in his final moments, he heard the whispers again. I'm still here. I'll put you back together. Chapter 3. Elizabeth's Fatal Curiosity. Elizabeth Afton loved her father. She admired his work, adored the animatronics, especially the one he made just for her. It wasn't just any animatronic, it was Circus Baby. She was beautiful, elegant, more lifelike than the others. She could sing and dance, make balloons and dispense ice cream. Circus Baby was more than just an animatronic. To Elizabeth, she was a friend, a companion. But William refused to let Elizabeth near Baby. Daddy, why won't you let me go play with her? But William refused to let Elizabeth anywhere near her, without ever really telling her why. His answer was always vague, flippant and dismissive. She didn't understand. Baby was safe. Baby was hers. One day, when no one was watching, Elizabeth couldn't help herself. She slipped away. She stepped closer, close enough for Baby to notice. The animatronic stopped singing and turned her eyes towards the young girl. Baby's stomach hatch opened, offering ice cream to the little girl in front of her. Elizabeth stepped forward, her hand eagerly reaching out for the cold treat, excited to be with her friend at last. See, she was right. Circus Baby was completely safe. A mechanical whir filled the air. Before Elizabeth could even scream, Baby's metal claw wrapped around her, pulling her inside, and then silence. William found out soon after, but he did not cry. He did not grieve. He simply locked the restaurant down, his mind already moving toward the next cover story he'd have to concoct. Why hadn't Elizabeth just listened? Didn't she understand how inconvenient this was? William told the world that there had been a gas leak. The restaurant was shut down permanently, within hours of its debut opening, and in the underground facility beneath the pizzeria, Circus Baby stood, still waiting. Baby's blue eyes flickered and turned green, just like Elizabeth's had been, and when she spoke, it was with Elizabeth's voice. Chapter 4. William's Own Trap. William Afton had gotten away with it for years. The disappearances, the deaths. Even as parents whispered and rumours grew, there was never enough evidence to put him down, until Henry turned on him. Henry knew. He knew about William's dark secret. He knew what had happened that night in the rain. The night William had killed Charlie, Henry's own daughter. But what else was he supposed to do? Henry had everything. Success, the perfect family, a future filled with promise. William seethed with anger. No, Henry had to feel that loss too. And one night, the doors to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza closed for the last time. The animatronics were left to rot, their souls trapped inside their mechanical bodies, forever bound to the pizzeria that had once been a place of joy. And William? William returned, not out of guilt, not out of regret, out of fear. He needed to destroy the evidence, the animatronics, the bodies, the spirits. He knew he couldn't let anyone know the true extent of his sins, so he dismantled them, one by one in the dark of the abandoned pizzeria. But the spirits did not rest. They were angry. Alone they were no threat to him, but together, unbound from their physical bodies, stuffed inside the animatronics, who knew what they could do. They chased William into the back room, the room they had lost their lives in. He needed to hide. And then he saw it. Spring Bonnie. The very suit he had once used to lure the children. Maybe it would be enough to scare them away. He stepped inside, feeling the familiar weight of the spring-locked suit as it settled around him. He was safe. Then, click, 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 snap. The suit, which had been left unmaintained and deteriorating in the back room of the pizzeria, had failed. Metal claws crushed into his body, puncturing organs and breaking bones. His screams filled the empty restaurant, echoing through the walls, but there was no one left to hear. And then, silence. The pizzeria was sealed, and William Afton was forgotten, but not dead. Never dead. Chapter 5. A Mother Forgotten. No one knew what happened to Mrs. Afton. One day she was there, and then she wasn't. There were whispers that she had left, that she had seen what William was becoming, and had taken the only escape she could. Others wondered if she had met a fate far worse than that of her children. Michael never spoke of her. The crying child whispered to his Fredbear plush as if it could answer the questions he was too afraid to ask out loud. And Elizabeth? Well, she was gone before she could even understand what it meant to be abandoned. But William never mentioned her at all, as if she had never existed in the first place. Time swallowed her memory like a house consumed by fire, leaving nothing but ash in its wake. But something lingered, an absence that felt too sharp, too unnatural. Did she flee, or did the house itself devour her, piece by piece, like it had consumed so much else? Chapter 6. Michael Afton, the walking corpse. The house had always been haunted, but not by ghosts. It was haunted by what had been done by those inside its walls. The sins of the father wove themselves into the very foundation, twisting and curling through time like smoke, suffocating everyone who remained. Michael had spent his whole life causing pain. Now he was the one who suffered. He didn't understand at first. His father sent him on a mission. Go find her, he had said. Put her back together. Michael obeyed. He descended into the underground facility searching for his sister, but he found Baby. She recognized him, or at least she thought she did. Not understanding how much time had passed, she mistook him for their father, and she had plans of her own. The scooper was never meant for humans. It was designed to remove animatronic endoskeletons, tearing through flesh and bone with surgical precision. She wanted her father to feel what she felt, for him to be part of her escape plan after he locked her and the others down there for so long. But it was Michael who felt everything. You won't die. Baby's words echoed inside his head. And he didn't, although he wished he had. His body walked, his skin moved, but something else was inside. For weeks, Ennard, the mass of animatronic parts from all the creations that William had abandoned in the bunker, used him as a disguise, blending in with the living, until his body started to rot. And then they left, disappearing into the sewer to find a new way to hide, to survive. And Michael got up, and he kept going. The pain was unbearable. the weight of his father's sins pressing down on him, like chains forged from every scream and every tear shed within those cursed walls. He had no choice but to keep moving, to find a way to end what should have never begun. Finally, understanding the depravity of his father, he knew he had to fix this. He took a job at Freddy's as a night guard, surviving each night as the haunted animatronics tried to get into his office and kill him. Didn't they understand he was trying to help them? He got fired within the week for tampering with the animatronics and Oda. He'd like to see them survive the scooper. He heard about a job going at Fazbear Fright. Someone was making money off of his father's misdeeds like it was nothing. He took the job as a security guard and ran into the man himself, his father, if you could even call him that anymore. He had been trapped inside his spring bonnie suit, rotting away. Michael burned Fazbear Frights to the ground, but that wasn't enough. There was one last job, a trap set by Henry, who had finally decided to do something. A final Freddy's location, where the past would be erased once and for all. This is where your story ends. Henry's voice echoed as the fire roared. The flames consumed everything. Springtrap, Baby, Molten Freddy, the others, even Henry's own daughter, in an attempt to make their spirits move on from their metallic prisons. And to you, my brave volunteer, who somehow found this job listing not intended for you, although there was a way out planned for you, I have a feeling that's not what you want. Michael didn't move. He wanted this to be over. He had spent his life living in the shadow of his greatest mistake, chasing ghosts and trying to right his father's wrongs. Now, at last, he would rest. But William? Even fire couldn't erase the horror that was his name. Even death refused to claim him. He was a shadow that refused to fade, lingering on in burnt remains, waiting for his chance to rise again. As we all know by now, William Afton always comes back.